My most favorite game franchise of all time is the Persona series. Each of the Persona games are about Japanese high school students who explore a supernatural realm where they fight demons. Half of the focus is about life as a student, going to school, chilling with friends, going on dates, and the other half is about dungeon exploration, turn-based combat, and powering up your characters. Many aspects of Yandere Simulator were heavily influenced by the Persona series. For example, Yandere Sim takes place over a period of 10 weeks. Each week, a new girl falls for senpai. You have a limited amount of time, just 5 days, to eliminate your current rival. Where did that idea come from? Persona. Persona 3 takes place over a period of 9 months. Every month, during a full moon, you must defeat a boss in order to advance the story. A single day in Yandere Sim is broken up into distinct phases: before school, before class, class time, lunchtime, after class, and after school. Where did that idea come from? Persona. The days are divided into phases like morning, lunchtime, and evening. Different locations and characters are available depending on the time of day. In Yandere Sim, the player sees a transition screen when moving from one day to the next. Where did that idea come from? Persona. The top right corner of the screen displays the day of the week, the phase of the day, and the time of the day. Where did that idea come from? Persona. The user interface is minimalist and only uses 2 or 3 colors. Where did that idea come from? Persona. Your character has stats that can be increased to unlock new gameplay possibilities. Where did that idea come from? Persona. I'm sure you get the idea by now, but allow me to make a metaphor. In the Persona games, you can fuse multiple demons together to make a more powerful demon. Yandere Simulator could be considered a demonic fusion of 3 games: the Hitman series, the Persona series, and another game that I'd like to make a video about one day in the future. I could spend all day talking about the ways that the Persona series has influenced Yandere Simulator in the past, but today I'd like to talk about the future. Persona 5, the most recent entry in the Persona series, was released last month. I've been waiting for this for about 8 years. This game actually has many of the features that I was planning for Yandere Simulator. This is very beneficial for me because now I can point to Persona 5 and use it as an example when I need to explain something that I want to do with Yandere Simulator. Persona 5 also has some other cool features that would be huge improvements to Yandere Sim. Today, I'm going to talk about the lessons I can learn from Persona 5 and the other games in the series. In Persona 5, when 2 students are talking to one another, words like chatter and murmur appear above their heads to give the impression that they're speaking. I think that this is a really cool visual effect that makes the setting feel more alive without actually polluting the environment with the constant sound of talking. I like this idea so much that I've already added it to Yandere Simulator in the most recent build of the game. From now on, you'll see visual effects coming out of characters' heads when they're talking to make them feel more lively. Sometimes, after a noteworthy story event, the player will see a shot of the school interior along with some text boxes. This text informs the player about how the school's students are reacting to the most recent occurrences. In Yandere Simulator, the player should feel like their actions are having an impact on the school and the students. Perhaps the day after something significant happens, such as a murder, a suicide, or an expulsion, I should start the day with a shot of the school interior, along with some text boxes that contain the students' reactions to recent events.
Can you believe someone was actually murdered right here in school?
I heard the police saying that the culprit might be a student.
But they couldn't find enough evidence to arrest anybody.
Does that mean the killer's in school with us right now?
Is it even safe to come to school?
In Persona 3, when a certain character passes away, a memorial service is held at school. This is what happens in real Japanese high schools when a student passes away. I've always thought that this is something that Yandere Simulator needs to have. If the player murders somebody and doesn't properly dispose of the body, they need to be punished for their poor performance. There should be a student assembly the next day. This would eat up the mourning phase of the day, skipping straight to the class time phase. In other words, the punishment for a sloppy murder is that you will lose an entire chunk of the subsequent day. You've probably noticed that Yandere Simulator's school corridors are a bit empty. Other video games and even a few anime I've checked out also had very empty-feeling hallways and didn't give me much inspiration or many good ideas for what to fill the halls with. Persona 5's school is the complete opposite. The hallways are full of props. It feels like a place that is actually being used by its inhabitants. I feel like Persona 5 is an instruction manual for how to properly build a Japanese high school in a video game. With Persona 5 to guide me, I can guarantee that a lot of improvements will be coming to Yandere-chan's school in the future. As I mentioned earlier, Yandere Simulator's weekday transition screen is modeled after the ones from the Persona games. Persona 3's transition looked like this. Persona 4's transition looked like this. And Persona 5's transition looks like this. Now that's stylish. I love it. Although I'm fond of the crisp, clean, and minimalist look of Yandere Simulator's current day transition screen, seeing Persona 5's transition screen makes me feel like striving to match that level of quality and stylishness. In Yandere Simulator, the player can hold down a button to activate Yandere Vision. This highlights nearby useful items in the environment. The same type of feature is in Persona 5. In this game, it's called Third Eye. In both games, the screen changes color when the effect is active, but in Persona 5, there are several more details. The protagonist changes his animation and makes subtle remarks to himself while using Third Eye. And there's even a sound effect to go along with it, too. These would all be improvements to Yandere Vision. Every little feature in Persona 5 has tons of thought put into it. Playing this game raises my standards for how much polish and detail a game needs to have in order to compete with modern titles. Usually, all of the playable characters in a Persona game are members of the same school and wear the same school uniform. But every character manages to look unique, because every character wears their uniform a little differently. Some girls wear a cardigan or a jacket over their uniform, and not every girl's skirt is the same length. Some boys wear a colored undershirt under their uniform, or unbutton their uniform, or wear it around their shoulders like a cape. This is something that I've always wanted to have in Yandere Simulator, but I haven't been able to implement that kind of feature due to the way that the character models are set up. Hopefully, when the game's final character models are created, they will be set up in a way that allows characters to wear their uniforms slightly differently, so that there is more visual variety among the students. For a long time, I've wanted Yandere Simulator to have some kind of opening animation, like what you see at the beginning of an anime episode. However, a 90-second long animation is very expensive to produce. That's why I've been considering the possibility of an extremely simple animation, composed primarily of motion graphics, rather than traditional frame-by-frame character animation. The Persona 3 opening video is actually a great example of this. It's an animation that makes heavy use of moving shapes, moving words, rotating 3D models, characters in silhouette, and stark visuals. The developers managed to create something striking and memorable, not because it looks high budget, but because it has a unique style. If Yandere Simulator does eventually have an opening animation, it might wind up looking something like this. Sometimes, as the player is walking around in a populated area, speech bubbles will appear on screen. These speech bubbles contain the words of nearby students. These bubbles don't have any meaningful impact on gameplay, but they do create the impression that the nearby characters are alive, with thoughts and feelings. Sometimes these bubbles even contain people's thoughts about the protagonist, which gives you an idea of how people judge him. This kind of feature could become an extension of the reputation meter in Yandere Simulator. When Yandere-chan walks by a group of students, she might hear them whispering about the things she's been doing lately. They'd praise her if she's a model student, but they'd gossip about her if she's been spotted doing dangerous things. This is something that is relatively simple to implement in a video game, and helps the world and its characters come to life. It's a feature that I can definitely see myself adding to Yandere Simulator in the future. In my previous video, I explained that Yandere Simulator's current character models have a lot of flaws, and that I personally don't find them very appealing. I named Persona 5 as an example of a game with character models that have cool-looking proportions and expressive faces. I mentioned that this character, named Shiho, looks similar to Yandere-chan, and might be considered a preview of what Yandere-chan could look like in the Persona art style. In the time since then, a very skilled artist sent me some illustrations of what a Persona-style Yandere-chan might look like. And shortly afterwards, a 3D modeler provided a Persona-style 3D model of Yandere-chan. I'm still not ready to declare exactly what Yandere Simulator's final art style will look like, but this 2D and 3D artwork makes me feel very confident that something similar to the Persona style could work out quite well. Believe it or don't, but this video has only covered half of all the subjects that I'd like to discuss regarding the Persona series and the lessons that Yandere Simulator can learn from it. In my next video, I'll cover everything else that I'd like to discuss before I put this subject to rest. The next video should be ready about 24 hours from now. I hope you're going to enjoy it. Thanks for watching.